Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Framework of Tomorrow. I am your host, Keegan Goldfarb, and today I am going to be talking about SpaceX and the privatization of space travel, with Elon Musk, with the owner of SpaceX. But before we get into that today, I want to talk about my sponsor here on both the network. Go check us out at rallynetwork.net. That is the network I'm a part of. And our sponsor, my sponsor for the show and the network, is Ashley Luann Kay. If you've been listening, you've heard all about her. If you're pursuing a higher education or want insight on life as a nurse, go check out Ashley Luann Kay at the Minnesota Nurse on Instagram. She is an amazing nurse, and you should definitely go check her out. And she has been covering and talking about some of the protests and riots that have been going on in Minnesota. So if you want to hear more about that, and just if you want to hear about what it's like to be a nurse during this time of like coronavirus and such, go check her out at the Minnesota Nurse on Instagram. All right, so today we're going to be talking about SpaceX and what it means that we are now having private companies sending people into space. Because before that, we didn't have that. It was just the government. It was NASA. And now we are seeing, with Elon Musk and SpaceX, privatization of space travel. So what does that mean? Are we going to be sending people up into space soon? Does that mean? Yes, actually. Well, I mean, it does. Commercially, I'm not sure. But we've sent a couple astronauts up recently. I believe they sent... When did they send those people up? Recently. It was really recently. I can't say it. I can't remember. It was like in the last week, 2 weeks ago, I think. Shoot. I can't see it. Anyway. So SpaceX has sent up recently a couple people to the International Space Station. Before that, they've been running different kinds of tests and launches and stuff like that. I believe, let me find it. Okay, so they've had 88 total launches. They actually started their launches around 2008. That was their first launch. I did not realize when I was looking this up that they've been doing this for 12 years. I didn't realize Elon Musk had been interested in space travel and stuff like that for 12 years now. It's crazy. So they've had 88 total launches, 53 landings, and 36 reflown rockets. So what I mean by reflown rockets is it's an example of how they're actually reusing some of their space equipment, because they are invested in I'll read it for you. It says SpaceX believes a fully and rapidly reusable rocket is the pivotal breakthrough needed to sustainably reduce the cost of space access. The majority of launch cost comes from building the rocket, which historically has only been flown once, which is true. Normally, you don't see a rocket come back you don't see it go into space and come back in one piece. It's pretty... It breaks apart in space and stuff like that. So what they want to do is they want it to be possible to not completely burn up on re-entry and to withstand the re-entry back into our atmosphere and successfully land on Earth and able to refly again, which means if that is true, then we could be sending people up into space, like, the average civilian. I could go up in space in, 20 years? I'm not sure. I don't know if it's going to be in 20 years, but if it is in 20 years, it's going to be a pretty expensive flight to go up there. But it would be cool, and it's really interesting that we're having this happen with the privatization of space travel. So I want to read a little quote from Elon Musk here. So he said, this is his quote on the SpaceX website. Their website's actually really cool. You should go check them out. It's a really, really cool website. So he said, "You want to wake up in the morning and think the future is going to be great. And that's what building a spacefaring civilization is all about. It's about believing in the future and thinking that the future will be better than the past. and I can't think of anything more exciting than going out there and being among the stars. Super cool quote from Elon Musk. One thing I noticed when I was reading this, when I read this before the episode, is when he says being a spacefaring civilization. Does that mean his end goal is to like have civilizations in space? I'm not sure, but that would be interesting. That'd be another interesting thing to cover. If, I don't know, is it ethical to have civilization elsewhere other than Earth? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of been talked about for the last, I don't know, since we've gotten into space. Is that like a probable thing? Can we do it? Should we do it? You know, there's been lots of conflicting viewpoints on that, but it's super cool. Elon Musk, this is just one thing I have to say about him. He's a really interesting dude. I just recently watched an episode with him and Joe Rogan, and he's just such an interesting dude. He's so smart, but he's kind of a weird guy, but that's just how you have to be. And he's a genius. He's a genius. He's amazing. Tesla is so cool. I love what he's doing there, and kind of all the inventions he's been doing. He's just such a successfully and smart guy. But I also watched where he talked about how he got successful. Like, he just worked his butt off. Like, he didn't just do that because he was, I mean, he did mostly because he was smart, but he also put a lot of hard work, and there was a lot of sacrifice he had. It was really interesting to hear about him talk about that. So, I actually have, it's right, wait, that was last, hang on. Oh, that was. Okay, so on Wednesday, June 3rd, I found it. That was a week ago today when I'm recording this, I think. Yeah. So on Wednesday, June 3rd, I forgot that was only a week ago. At 9:25 p.m. EDT, which is East, I don't know what that is. SpaceX launched its 18th Starlink mission. Falcon 9 lifted off from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral, I don't even know what that is, Air Force Station. Falcon 9's first stage previously supported the Telstar 18 Vantage mission in September 2018. The Iridium 8 mission in January 2019, and two separate Starlink missions in May 2019 and January 2020. Following stage separation, SpaceX landed Falcon 9's first stage on the Just Read the Instructions drone ship, which was stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. So that's super cool. And like I said, I've talked about, they've had 88 launches, 53 landings, and 36 reflown rockets, which is crazy in 12 years to do that. I can't do math in my head, but I don't know how many would that have to be a year. I'm sure you're listening to this and you're way smarter than I am and you can do that in your head, but I'm not that much of a genius. I really just suck at math, let's be honest. So SpaceX is making history. SpaceX has gained worldwide attention for a series of historic milestones. It is the only private company capable of returning a spacecraft from low Earth orbit. And in 2012, their Dragon spacecraft became the first commercial spacecraft to deliver cargo to and from the International Space Station. Soon will be the first private company to take humans there as well. So that is his... Oh, well, actually, that's not updated because they did take humans there a while ago, or like a week ago. Click through the timeline. Oh, that's just a different thing. I don't know why I did that. So a lot of people have been talking about, they're like, so is it ethical to have the privatization of space travel? Is that ethical? Should we be doing that? And some of the things I was hearing with like pros and cons lists. So like pros would be it creates competition. So there's when competition is created, then that means there's faster expansion rate. There's more output on them trying to get into space, new technology coming up. So there's going to be more of a drive to go explore space or to, make better rockets and stuff like that. Because, and this is interesting, because NASA actually hasn't, they haven't launched anything for a couple of years. It's been a while now. They haven't launched anyone into space for a while here. And so the privatization of space travel might get NASA to be like, okay, maybe we should continue our space exploration, sending people up into space, stuff like that. They've been doing other things, obviously, other than sending people into space. But I think it's been a while since they have sent people into space. You can look that up. I'm not completely sure when the last time they did that, but I know it's been a while. So, the pros: creates competition and faster expansion rate, and kind of what's engineering of space travel. But some cons, which is completely true and interesting, that I don't know, it's really interesting. So the cons would be it could put scientific information behind a paywall because of its being a private company. They obviously aren't funded by the taxpayer, which NASA is, because it's a government, it's a government thing. It could put scientific information behind a paywall, because if a private company finds, I don't know, they take a really good picture of, I can't even think of something like Pluto or another galaxy, they get something in space as well. Like, what are the rules for, do they just get to keep it? Is it free game? The thing is it could be putting things behind paywalls, and people would have to pay actually to see some of this stuff, and scientists to get access to this, which is really interesting. And I know I was also researching this a little bit, and apparently having privatization of space travel also really messes with the treaties they have for space travel, like the world does, like countries have with each other on like the rules of space travel. I'm not exactly sure what that includes, but apparently it could do that. So there's pros and cons to the privatization of space travel, but I do really think it's cool that it's now going to have some more competition, and there's going to be some expansion in our knowledge of space, which I really think is cool, because I absolutely love and am fascinated with space and with learning more about it. So I think that's really cool that we're going to have, hopefully, some competition come into the mix here, and people exploring even more and learning more about this amazing universe that we live in. So yeah, that's all I had for today. Today is going to be a little bit of a shorter episode, because on Monday I had a pretty long episode. It was like 40 minutes. I talked about the evolution of music with Mike and Gracie Shermack, the hosts of BRCM Daily. You should definitely go check them out, and go check out that episode, because it was a great episode. So definitely go check that out. But at the end of my episodes, I always have a random history fact of the day. This one actually came from my friend Spencer Heinbuch. I had him on a episode, was that 4 or 5 episodes ago? I can't remember. But we talked about cults. That's also a really good episode. But he sent this to me the other day, and he said, so some of the Soviet soldiers in World War II had never seen a Western toilet before. So before they went home, they would actually steal toilets from the houses and brought them back home from Germany in World War II. So they stole the German toilets because they'd never seen them before, and they're like, we need these in our country. So that is that was a really good random history fact of the day, because I didn't know that, and I'm sure you didn't either. I could be wrong, maybe you did, but it's super interesting. I know I say that a lot. I say it's super interesting a lot. You could probably listen back and count how many times I say that. But yeah, I thought that was just a really cool fact that I should share with you. And thank you, Spencer Heinbuch, for that amazing fact. As always, check me out on Instagram at The Framework of Tomorrow, and send me either thoughts or questions, or if you want to be on my show, definitely send me something. Text me if you know me personally, or reach out to me on The Framework of Tomorrow on Instagram, or The Framework of Tomorrow at gmail.com if you don't have Instagram. Make sure to rate me 5 stars on iTunes, and I will shout you out at the beginning of my episode. I upload every Monday and Wednesday at 5 a.m., and make sure to check out my next episode on Monday, because this is being released on Wednesday. And have a great rest of your day, and make sure to tune in next week for another fantastic episode of The Framework of Tomorrow.